Iggy Peck, Architect. Written by Andrea Beatty and illustrated by David Roberts. You know, there's a word right away that we should probably remember. Architect. Architect. An architect is a person who designs buildings and also can help be in charge of their construction. When we talk about architecture, we're talking about the job of creating and designing buildings. An architect designed the building we're in right now. They designed the house you live in and all the buildings you drive by on your way to school. Architects have important jobs because we need shelter, homes, and places to shop that are safe and interesting. Young Iggy Peck is an architect and has been since he was 2, when he built a great tower in only an hour with nothing but diapers and glue. "Good gracious, Ignatius," his mother exclaimed. "That's the coolest thing I've ever seen." But her smile faded fast as a light wind blew past and she realized those diapers weren't clean. "Ignatius, my son, what on earth have you done? That's disgusting and nasty. It stinks." But Iggy was gone. He was out on the lawn using dirt clods to build a great sphinx. When Iggy was 3, his parents could see his unusual passion would stay. He built churches and chapels from peaches and apples and temples from modeling clay. At dinner one night, to his father's delight, Iggy got a bright gleam in his eye and out on the porch built the St. Louis Arch from pancakes and coconut pie. Dear Ig had it made until 2nd grade, when his teacher was Miss Lila Greer. On the very first day, she had this to say: "We do not talk of buildings in here. Gothic or Romanesque, I couldn't care less about buildings, ancient or new." She said in her lecture about architecture that it had no place in grade 2. That might seem severe, but she was sincere, for when she was no more than 7, she'd had a great fright at a dizzying height in a building so tall it scraped heaven. On an architect's tour of the 95th floor, young Lila got lost from the group. She was found 2 days later in a stuck elevator eating cheese with a French circus troupe. After that day, it's quite safe to say, she thought all building lovers were nuts. As a teacher, she taught that above all, one ought to avoid them. No ifs, ands, or buts. As you might guess, it would cause Iggy stress to hear such terrible talk. But he didn't hear. He sat in the rear while building a castle of chalk. Now, we just read that Iggy's teacher, Miss Lila Greer, does not think architecture is important. In fact, she said there would be no talk of buildings in her classroom. Let's stop reading right now to make a prediction. What do you think Iggy's teacher will do or say when she sees his chalk castle? Why do you think that might happen? What might Iggy do when his teacher sees the castle? Let's find out if we're right. "You, Iggy Peck, your desk is a wreck. Tear down that castle right now. You will not build in here, is that perfectly clear? Do you need to see Principal How?" Let's pause for just a moment. Have you ever had a teacher like Iggy's? I hope not. But how would it make you feel if your teacher didn't allow you to learn about things you love? How can learning learning more about things we're interested in help us learn other things? What do you think Iggy should do here? No, ma'am, Iggy said. He lowered his head and his heart sank down to the floor. With no chance to build, his interest was killed. Now second grade was a bore. After 12 long days that passed in a haze of reading, writing, and arithmetic, Miss Greer took the class to Blue River Pass for a hike and an old-fashioned picnic. They crossed an old trestle to a small island nestled in the heart of a burbling stream. But they no sooner passed than the footbridge collapsed and Miss Lila Greer started to scream. "We're trapped here! Oh my! Alas, kids, goodbye!" Her eyes rolled back in her head. She dropped to the ground with a vague groaning sound, luckily fainted, not dead. Let's pause for a second and we're going to do a turn and talk partner discussion. I would like to know, how do you think the students and Miss Lila Greer are going to get back and go across the bridge? What would you do? I want you to turn and talk to your shoulder partner, and you're going to discuss what you think the students and Miss Greer should do to get back to the mainland. After you both share your ideas, you'll need to agree on one plan to share out to the class. And this could be either partner's plan, or it could be ideas from each partner to make a new plan. Go ahead and turn and talk. The class was amazed. They stood there quite dazed, uncertain of what they should do. But one bright young man was off hatching a plan, which started with Miss Lila's shoe. Soon each lad and lass there at Blue River Pass was working together as one. Do you see any of your ideas or your partner's ideas on these illustrations? And when she came to, Miss Lila Greer knew that something quite brave had been done. She looked in the air and saw hanging there a structure with cables and braces, and on the far side, beaming with pride, were 17 smiling young faces. Boots, tree roots and strings, fruit roll-ups and things, some of which one should not mention, were stretched ridge to ridge in a glorious bridge dangling from shoestring suspension. It all became clear to Miss Lila Greer as she crossed that bridge over the stream. There are worse things to do when you're in grade 2 than to spend your time building a dream. That's the end of the story, Iggy, Peck, Architect, but I would like to stop one last time and notice the illustrations in this book. The illustrations are done on what is called graphing paper. This type of paper makes it easier to draw things that need to be a specific size. See, you can even count the squares to see how tall a building or a structure needs to be. Do you think that you could think like an architect and create a sketch of a building on some graph paper? I'd like for you to try. So you'll each receive a piece of graphing paper and you'll have some drawing time to set a design for a new building for our school. Now, be sure to plan room for your lunches and several classrooms. And remember, all buildings must have a door. Hey, have fun becoming an architect and be creative with your designs.